All right, well, hey there, guys. Welcome back to the Depression Session podcast. It is me, Weedman, coming at you guys with another video podcast. It's just me this week. I generally didn't work out again, but honestly, I'm kind of enjoying these solo podcasts that we've been doing. Just me and you guys. I say we like there's multiple people involved, but it's literally just me talking to a webcam. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great week. Currently, it is the day after Thanksgiving, so I hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving if that's something to celebrate. If not, I hope you had a good Thursday. And I hope that this week coming up, you guys are able to achieve your goals and reach your dreams, and anything you set out to accomplish, I hope you guys are able to do. Anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and hop into this week's subject, and this subject is what it's like being a restaurant server. Now, this is something I've have experience in. I've been a server for almost 2 years now. No, sorry, almost 3 years. Damn, I've almost been a server for almost 3 years now. It's only ever been in one restaurant. However, I have worked in another restaurant, so I've worked in 2 restaurants in total, and then I've also worked in a coffee shop. So I've had 3 jobs in total that are like customer service, food based. It's all kind of similar. So I do have a couple years experience when I'm talking about this. Now, when I'm talking specifically about restaurant server, I mean being a waiter or a waitress. You know what I mean? The people that come to the table and take the orders and bring your drinks and all the food and all that. Now, in terms of actually serving, I have only ever served in one restaurant, and so everything I say is going to be pretty subjective to that one restaurant, so I can't really speak for a lot of other restaurants. There are a lot of restaurants that are much more nicer and higher end than the restaurant I work in, so those restaurants are probably a little bit more well managed and a little more organized and probably a little bit higher pay, I'd imagine, because they're like the fancy $1,000 steak kind of restaurants. Obviously, I have no clue what it's like to work in those places. I wish I would, because those tips probably go absolutely insane, but I don't. So I'm just going to talk about the restaurants that I know and the restaurant that I've worked at. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say what restaurant I work at just for privacy's sake, but it is still a restaurant. It is still a restaurant style serving job, so I think I am pretty well versed. I'm pretty qualified to talk about this. Anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. So the first bullet point that I have written down is why I like the job. Now, a lot of people don't like this job. Unfortunately, this is a job that a lot of people try and a lot of people quit because it is a hard job. Now, it's not the hardest job in the world. Like the guys that work on those oil rigs in the middle of the goddamn ocean, or even construction workers or like firemen or police officers, those jobs are way harder than my job will ever be. However, it is still not a really easy job just because it's very like mentally taxing, and a lot of your mental energy and your social energy just gets sapped the fuck away because you're constantly on your feet, you're constantly running around, you're constantly remembering a bajillion different things, and you also got to deal with people, and that's probably the biggest part, is just dealing with people. Now, obviously, I'm sure everyone's heard terrible horror stories of servers in restaurants, and thankfully I haven't had any like genuinely horror stories. Like, obviously I have the occasional guy that's kind of a dick, or I have the people that just leave a mess on the table, or those people that'll try to get free food out of you and whatnot. That just kind of comes with the job, but I've never had any instance that genuinely was like, this is so bad I want to quit. At least not genuinely. I have had that thought before, because unfortunately a lot of the people within the server realm, or at least my restaurant, everyone hates the job but no one wants to quit it. I don't know, people complain a lot. I don't know if that's specific to my restaurant, but it seems like a lot of servers love to complain, and I kind of get it. It does suck, but for the amount of work that you have to do, for the amount of pay that you get, it's a really fucking good job. Like, I will work typically 4-hour shifts and I could walk out with over $100 in tips plus my hourly. So it's like, a lot of times at the end of my shift, I'll calculate it up and I'm making 30-40 an hour. And so it's like, to me, dealing with those asshole customers and dealing with the kitchen that's slow and dealing with management that's incompetent and all that stuff is kind of worth it, because I show up for 4 hours and I make $100. I can't really pass that up right now. Like, that's genuinely the best opportunity I have and have had. Anyway, I've been getting off topic. So the reasons why I like the job. So besides the obvious, I show up for 4 hours and I can make over $100 in tips. I like the job because every shift is different. You know what I mean? Like, even though you do relatively the same thing, you show up, you take tables, you talk to tables, you take their order, you ring it in, you get their drinks, you give them the bill, you cash them out. Like, the process is the same every single day and every single shift, but every single table is different. Like, obviously every now and again you'll get a repeat customer, but even then everything's different. They'll order something different, they'll bring a friend with them, whatever. And so, like, every single shift, it's different, it's new, it's refreshing. You never really know what you're gonna walk into. It's like, you could walk into it and it's gonna be packed your entire goddamn shift, or you could walk in and you get one table for the entire night. And so, like, it really kind of helps it keep from becoming monotonous. And that's something that I really strive for, because I really hate monotony of just doing the same thing day in, day out, over and over. That shit drives me so goddamn crazy. Another thing I really like about the job is it really forces me to get better at socializing. Because I don't have the best social skills. I'm definitely a hell of a lot better than I used to be when I was like a kid and in junior high and shit. That was so goddamn bad. But it really forces you to kind of get out of your shell and talk to people and learn ways to communicate with people and kind of jive with them and continue the conversation. You have to find that flow for every single table, because every single table you walk up to is going to act differently. Like, you could have a table that's a group of guys that's very rowdy and rambunctious and having a good night, and you got to joke with them and laugh and joke and all that. And then you could walk up to this couple of old people, these two old people on a date, and they just want to be chill and just kind of eat and be left alone. It's like, for sure, I'll leave you guys alone. You guys enjoy your date. And then you could have a family that the dad is clearly unhappy with his life and super stressed, and he's an asshole to you the entire night. And you just say, "I fuck it, whatever. Here's your bill." So every night is different and every table is different, and I really do like that. And so you really get good at like reading the tables and reading the room and figuring out what works with them and what doesn't. And that can really translate to a lot of things in life, because a lot of times in life, half of it is just figuring out the right way to act for the certain situation. And it can really help when you're meeting someone new, because you're more tuned and more trained at finding out that flow and finding out that strive to do in that conversation for that person, so you can then get along with them better. So now that I've talked about what I like about the job, because those are the main things, the showing up for 4 hours and making $100, every day is different, and the fact that it trains me socially, I think I'm going to talk about what I don't like about the job now. Now, the things I don't like about the job are pretty small relatively, at least compared to what they used to be. Like, I used to complain a lot about my job, and I don't really know why. I mean, I kind of do know why. I was just kind of young, and I also was just following the work culture. Because like I said, everyone in my restaurant complains, and everyone says they hate their job, but no one quits. Oh, no, actually, a lot of people do quit. I don't know. A lot of people just say they hate their job, but they still work it and show up. I don't know. So there's not a lot of things that I genuinely dislike about the job. I would say the only thing that does kind of like actually irk me is that, like I said, your like social battery and your like mental energy really can get depleted very quickly. Like, there are a lot of times after I'll have a 4-hour shift, if it's really busy, I just don't want to be around people. Like, I just want to sit in my car or just go home and edit and just not talk to anyone. So I think that is the one thing that I do genuinely dislike about the job. And maybe that's just a me thing. You know what I mean? I don't know about the other servers or the other people that work in the restaurants. Because there are some people that get energized by social situations. So as far as I'm aware, they could get off their job and want to socialize even more. But for me personally, I find a lot of the times I just do not want to talk to people after my shift. Sorry. There are other things, obviously, that I don't like about the job. But I feel like it's more my restaurant specific. And so it's not really fair to say those things or criticize the industry because they are specific to my restaurant. And that's just stuff like management, basically, and like scheduling and shifts and all of that. I can't speak for other restaurants, and I don't know how they run it. And from what I've heard, the system that my restaurant has is just shitty. Like, I've heard a manager say that herself. She said that she's gone to other restaurants to be a manager, and it is genuinely just the system that my restaurant has that makes it so shitty with management. So I can't really speak on other restaurants, so I'm not even going to go ahead and head into those. So therefore, the only thing that I genuinely can say that I dislike about the job is that it just drains my social battery. And again, that's probably just me, a me specific thing. Now, going into my next point, it's how long I plan to stay in the industry. So basically, how long I do plan on being a server. This is something that I do think about quite a bit. There was a while that I was thinking about, okay, I'm just gonna do this until the next best thing comes along, and then I'll move, and then I'll dip. Basically, that's what I was like when I first started working in restaurants. When I first started at my first restaurant, when I was a dishwasher, I said, okay, this is a job that's hiring right now. I'm just going to do it and get money, and then when the next best thing comes along, I'm out, because I don't want to be a dishwasher forever. And it turns out the next best thing was becoming Expo, which is basically the people that take the food from the kitchen to the tables. So I was a dishwasher for a month, and then they moved me up to Expo, and I ended up kind of liking it at the restaurant. I was also the only one that was there to do it at that restaurant. So I kind of had to, or at least I felt like I had to, so I stayed. And then eventually that restaurant shut down due to financial struggles with COVID and all that. And then I moved to my current restaurant, and then there I was Expo for a while, and then I moved up to server, and that's where I've been, and I'm currently trying to get up to bartender. Anyway, I don't really plan on doing serving and restaurant work forever. Obviously, I do want to transition into other things like this channel or a business or what have you, or the plumbing thing like I mentioned in a couple podcasts ago. But honestly, I wouldn't really mind doing serving or bartender or whatever, because I do like the job. I do find it fun. I do find it insightful, or fucking I learn from it. So if I had to do it for the rest of my life, I wouldn't be too unhappy with it. I don't want to. I want to do bigger and better things and earn more money. But if my life ended up in the way of I'm always just a server and I just go up to nicer and nicer restaurants and eventually I end up in one of those $1,000 steakhouses, then I wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you. I do want to become a bartender just because I think that that would open up more opportunities. Because it's really hard to get trained as a bartender, surprisingly. Because every bartender I know, they started as like a server or something, and then they got trained to bar. But no restaurant wants to hire someone for bar to train unless they already have experience. Basically, restaurants don't want to hire people without experience anymore. So you kind of gotta get hired at a place and then move up within that restaurant. And I know that doesn't sound too hard, but I'm fucking struggling with it for some reason. Anyway, as of right now, I'm still kind of in that mode of as soon as the next best thing comes along or as soon as something that pays more comes along, I'll do it. However, recently I have been really toying with the idea of trying to move up into a better restaurant and a nicer restaurant. Just because it's kind of my best opportunity as of right now, just because, you know, obviously I'm not making money. I'm not making any money off of this podcast because obvious fucking reasons. And then the plumbing thing, that'll take a couple of years. And honestly, I don't even know if I want to do that. So I've really been toying with the idea of trying to get into a better restaurant. And I've even applied to a couple places. But honestly, right now, the job market is just so shit that I just can't seem to even get a fucking response back. So I'm just kind of going with it right now. It's my best option and my best opportunity. Again, I wouldn't mind doing it the rest of my life, but I don't really want to. I want to do something bigger and better and move on and do shit that actually kind of matters. But if being a server is what God has planned for me, then I guess I'm just going to have to be a server. So if there's anyone that is considering going into serving, my like synopsis of the job basically is if you're thinking about it, is it's a very, very good job that you work short shifts, you can make a lot in tips, but your social battery and your mental energy is going to be drained. It's going to be hard. You're going to have to deal with a lot of people and a lot of assholes. But if that's something you're fine with or something you find fun, by all means do it. I think it's a really fun job and a really good opportunity for young people. Like I'm still surprised how much money I make from it 3 years later. You know what I mean? So if you're thinking about doing it and you're genuinely a sociable person and you like socializing and you like talking and you're really good at multitasking too, you really got to be good at multitasking and keeping a bunch of different balls in the air. I would recommend it, honestly. I think it's a really good job and a really good opportunity for young people. And I think with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast. Sorry if it was a little bit more rambly than the last ones and kind of more all over the place. I'm really tired right now, so I hope you guys still enjoyed, and I hope it's still coherent. But that'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Depression Session podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Come back next Monday at 12 for another podcast episode. Come back this Wednesday at 12 for a Wednesday video, a special video that me and the boys do, which is kind of random whenever we come up with. Then come back Friday at 12 for a gaming video. Comment, like, subscribe, all that thing to help with the YouTube algorithm. Please, we need it. And remember that just like this podcast, depression is to secession, and it too soon shall pass. We will go ahead and see you guys back here next Monday at 12 with another episode. Goodbye.